interesting metagame, I would say, Regina, where this is like basically the first week of Series 2 after San Diego was the biggest regional ever, and we're never going to see that format again.
Oh my god, it's a
so that was fun.
Oh my god, it's Volcarona!
Yeah, it's a Volcarona.
So
yeah, so the teams go up on screen there, and I think the team that Luca's running here is basically just a Series 1 team, and given how hard it is to kind of like get competitively viable versions of some of these like Paradox Pokemon, it makes sense that, you know, you'd just be carrying over from Series 1 to Series 2. So this team looks a lot like some of the stuff that was kind of popular going into San Diego with the Psychic Spam version, and then of course Mousehold can do 1,000,000 damage, and Goldengo
only if it hits.
Only if it hits, which it usually does, but for everybody except you, Regina.
Yeah,
and
I missed 2 of them. Brendan got to hear the story.
That's sad. And then Goldengo, of course, was one of the best Pokemon at San Diego Regionals. So, but over on the other side, like Regina said, we've got a Slitherwing, we've got an Iron Hand. Slitherwing being one of the past Paradox Pokemon of Volcarona, where it's a fighting type. It's fighting and bug, so Regina's learning some things here today.
Yeah.
And then Iron Hands, of course, is the past Paradox version of Hariyama.
It's the future Paradox,
That's
not
what
past
I meant.
Paradox.
Same thing. Times flat circle.
Well, okay, because in my defense, I did get the better version of the game. I did get Violet, so I'm saying.
Kind of arguable, but
All
that's
right.
fine. We don't have to have that fight now. We'll talk about it later.
But yeah, I'm actually super excited to see some of the Paradox Pokemon because they were kind of really cool in game, and so to see them like being able to be used here. However, no Paradox Pokemon on the screen. We are going to be getting Arcanine and Scizor as Tyler's lead versus Armarouge and Deacy, which actually wasn't as like prevalent as I expected going into San Diego, or just, you know, at the tail end of what is now Series 1.
Yeah, I think the Psychic Spam stuff was kind of like an immediate reaction that some people had at the beginning of Series 1, but ended up not really being as strong as maybe you thought. And part of the reason is because of this Pokemon that's going to sit on the field all day here, which is Snarl Arcanine, which gives this combination like a really hard time. Some of the things like Kingambit, Terradark Amoonguss, Hydreigon kind of give this pair fits, and those are all pretty popular Pokemon, so you understand kind of why it fell off a little bit going into San Diego Regionals.
Yeah. Kind of wild to think that Snarl Arcanine is a thing now, because it makes you really think, even with Paradox Pokemon, what year is it?
What year is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
As Indeedee uses Follow Me here, and there we are, that Snarl, not going to matter for this, it'll hit both Pokemon, it will lower the special attack of both of these, so, you know, really hurting on Armarouge. We are going to have Armarouge going first with our Armor Cannon. It's going to do a lot of damage into that Scizor. And Scizor is going to get knocked out here, so we will not be able to see exactly what that Scizor was going to do as the special defense and the defense of Armarouge drops, but it'll take down that bug with it.
Yeah, that's smart. I think one of the things about Armarouge is it kind of likes to be setting Trick Room a lot of the time, so you have the reasonable expectation of it being slower than Scizor there, and also thinking that maybe it wouldn't have just gone for the attack, so it kind of makes sense to kind of pull that sort of just go for it mentality onto the Scizor slot, but it's just a free knockout, and now you can maybe go back to the drawing board and set Trick Room if you want it there. But again, you don't really have to. There are some pretty good pivots on Luke's team if he wants to try and get into his own Hydreigon. Now might be a good time for that, and he does have it in the back. But Trick Room, you know, is a nice option on these Psychic Spam teams, but not a necessity, and he kind of like played on that idea in turn 1.
Alright, and so Armarouge is going to be switched out for a Goldengo. A Goldengo is actually one of those Pokemon that I really hate seeing, so stressful.
Oh, I love it.
But Air Balloon is going to be the item of choice here, as Indeedee hides behind a Protect on this turn. We are going to see another Snarl here from the Arcanine is going to hit into that Protect instead, and is actually still going to hit that Goldengo. Is going to do super effective damage on the switch in with a critical hit as well, and going to knock down that special attack, which is actually super paramount for that Goldengo. Is also going to be losing that Air Balloon, but that means that Hydreigon is free for that focus energy on this turn. I love that that was like a move that people put on Hydreigon.
That's a really cool tech, and it was kind of born of a need to hit Dondozo really hard, and of course critical hits going through some of those boosts that Dondozo likes to carry around with it, but it gets the opportunity to go for it for free now, and it's threatening a knockout onto the whole world. You can probably just pretty freely Dark Pulse into the Goldengo slot. You'll knock out Indeedee, and if anything tries to switch in, like, it's going to go down too. So this is a pretty good position for Tyler here.
Alright, Indeedee's ready to take some for the team as it uses Follow Me one more time. Arcanine getting another just free to go for those Snarls.
Yeah, they'll do it all day.
Yeah, what, -3 now
all day long.
-2 on that Goldengo, but Goldengo tries to negate all of that with a nasty putt. It's still kind of like going to be in a rough spot next turn, as Indeedee is going to have to actually, both of these Pokemon are going to have to take a Heat Wave here. Goldengo going to go get knocked out. Another double critical hit here thanks to that focus energy. It's really nice, you know, you got 3 heads, 2 targets. At least you take out one thing.
Yeah, I think this game is getting a little dicey here for Luke. He had a nice turn 1 where he was able to take the KO with Armor Rouge, but now he's just kind of generated so much momentum. This Hydreigon is boosted, but one thing that this could end up kind of like factoring in here is whether or not one Hydreigon is faster than the other one, and then what Terror types they have. Of course, we're playing an open team sheet, so we can tell you that Luke's Hydreigon is a Steel Terror type, which would make it a pretty safe option to use defensively against the opposing Hydreigon, and then Tyler's Hydreigon is actually Steel as well. So we could play fun games with Steel Hydraigons. Which ones have Heat Wave? Which ones have some sort of tech move? You know, we don't know. We'll find out. Well, we do know, but let's see how this turn goes.
We know for sure that Tyler's has that has that Heat Wave, but that
and there's part of why Steel's so good.
Very nice, yeah, to negate some of that damage from that Draco meter. As Indeedee goes for another follow me. Snarl all day, every day though from that Arcanine. That Indeedee is never going to try to attack, which is great because it's now at -4 here. Hydreigon though, more importantly, going to hit another stage down for us, so it'll be at -3, especially after that Draco meter. The wrong Pokemon avoiding the attack here though, as another critical hit because of that focus energy. That Hydreigon's going to take some more damage here on Luke's side, and it's actually going to be at -3 now for that special attack.
Yeah, it's really not doing a whole lot, which is why it's going to be withdrawn from the field. Armor's kind of a smart switch in here because we know that Tyler's been kind of favoring Heat Wave as the primary attacking move on his Hydreigon here, and of course Flash Fire is a nice thing to switch in.
This is a -3
this
Draco
very
here.
weak Hydreigon. Very, very weak.
It's doing its best, and right now that's not enough, but Flare Blitz from the Arcanine going into what was that Indeedee, that was a fantastic switch, because
smart.
Now that Armor Rouge, Armor Rouge is going to be able to get that that boost thanks to Flash Fire. Hydreigon on Luke's side is going to dodge that Draco meter, so actually kind of like an interesting turn for Luke where he was able to negate any damage from there, and now, you know, Armor Rouge is boosted here. We did see that Choice Specs has locked in that Draco meter. Unfortunately, it was at -4-5, so is going to reset that as Indeedee is going to come out onto that field. Indeedee also bringing with it like that terrain back, which did disappear in that same turn. So now at least Expanding Force, you know, can hit both Pokemon as opposed to just a single target. Yeah,
I really liked the play from Tyler, but he kind of got undone by the imperfect accuracy of the Draco Meteor here, but he's still kind of in a really commanding position here where this Hydreigon's going to be able to take infinite knockouts. It almost doesn't even matter which attack it clicks because it's going to be faster than everything else, and it's just going to be able to take kind of infinite knockouts here. But Luke going to sort of like pivot back into the position where he can maybe try to click a full power attack onto the opposing Hydreigon, but we know that its strongest attack, Draco Meteor, was blocked by the Steel Terror type here, so he's going to have to go for a Dark Pulse into that slot and hope for the best. But, you know, Arcanine here is pretty much unthreatened, and there's still a whole other Pokemon in the back for Tyler here. So this is, he's going to need, Luke is going to need a lot of help, probably from RNG gods to really kind of get out of this one, I think.
All right, and there's the Dark Pulse is going to pick up the knockout on the opposing Hydreigon.
Kind of the best you could hope for, right?
Yeah, at least you know you're faster in that moment against the opposing Hydreigon, which is really good. Flare Blitz though from the Arcanine is going to pick up that knocker here on Indeedee, and we know that Hydreigon is now officially locked into Dark Pulse because of those choice specs. But at least now you get to see Tyler's last Pokemon, which always, like, despite being an open team cheat format, having that information for what your opponent brings is still really good. Oh my gosh,
there it is, and it's a shiny one.
Cute.
Yeah, so this is a really cool Pokemon. One of the best things that it does is use First Impression, which is a priority bug type move, and it's going to be able to get that attack off because Hydreigon is levitating above the Psychic terrain, but it's not going for it here, and it's also not using a Terrestrialization. We know it's Steel though, which isn't really a great idea, and he's just going to go for the close combat to seal it up anyway. So that's cool. There's our first little glimpse at Series 2 there. The Slitherwing coming in and picking up the KO and as the final option there. Hopefully we get to see it use First Impression at some point too, because I think that's one of the coolest things about it.
Yeah, what's really nice too is that you get to see the item being consumed there, the booster energy.
Booster energy.
What's it called? Like photosynthesis. That's gonna trip me up. But I think it's so fun how all of these Paradox Pokemon have sort of like, you know, one uses like the sun for like help on there, and the other uses
cool
like
thematically.
But booster energy, you know, in one of those circumstances, like using sort of like the best way it was explained to me was if you looked at like Dustmane Necrozma and you like Photon Geyser, right? It uses like your attack or like your special attack, but it's like such a hidden mechanic a lot of the times that keeping track of that is the rough part when it comes to things like this.
It kind of reminds me of the way that certain Ultra Beasts could be changed to alter which their Beast Boost was going to be used. Like there were ways you could take, like for example, Kartana and make it boost attack or speed. And it's that kind of thing too, where there are some Pokemon where you can make them get a speed boost, you can make them get an attack boost so that they do more damage. And this Slitherwing here is almost definitely using an attack boosting one. I'm pretty sure it has to be outside.
It was.
Did we see it? Yeah, okay. Which allows it to, you know, hit harder with first impression. And effectively gives a +1 boost, although it's technically outside of that and kind of like multiplies differently with true stat boosts when it's the only stat boost in isolation.
So essentially, you can look on your screen usually for things that like when you're boosting your attacks, you'll get the little arrow, or like you'll get the down arrow if you get let's say intimidated. Things like booster energy for stuff like this, you can't see it. Like it has to be something you inherently know for your Pokemon, right? Like it's a little bit tougher to keep track of, and I think that's what makes this format, I think, gonna be one of the more interesting things, because
it just makes it variable, right?
Like,
and I think I actually misspoke. I'm trying to think, but I believe that. Oh man, I think that every stat except for speed is a 30% multiplier, and then speed is a 50% multiplier.
I think it's like 1.3 versus like 1.5 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So it's kind of like running a choice scarf without the choice if you have speed, but everything else is more like is like a life orb, right? Life orb is 1.3.
Yeah, I also just think it's really funny that they're.
Can we talk about numbers on this stream?
Yeah,
you can't do it on it. Okay.
But I just want to point out really fast. I just think it's funny that their usernames, one's Diamond and one's Steel. I don't know why that's really funny to me, because it just makes me think of Dialga.
Well, Steel should win then, right?
Yeah, he did game 1.
There you go.
We're gonna see if he can do it for game 2 and if there was any adjustments. I'm glad we got to see the Slitherwing, but I mean Arcanine and Scissor, even though that Scissor didn't get to do much, it was still like, you know, like a good enough that the Arcanine could just sit pretty there and just keep snarling all day. But a little bit of a change here now is Hydreigon and Needy is going to be the lead of choice from Luke. So Armarouge just either in the back or just not there. I totally missed what he did. But while we were discussing stats and stuff, that escaped us what he had locked into.
Oh yeah, we weren't watching. We were talking about something totally different. But yeah, this is still kind of like a big-time Arcanine game where it really just gets the opportunity to just kind of click Snarl as long as it wants. Maybe we'll get to see Scissor do something, and it's kind of in a better position to do it this game as well. There are no fire types threatening it. We've seen, well, we can tell you in this open team sheet era that Luke's Hydreigon does not have a fire move, so Scissor's a little bit safer, but it is just going to take a boosted Dark Pulse instead. So Scissor not having a great time.
It came out for
it's had some better days.
Not having that, yeah. But Snarl, Indeedee avoiding the attack again. You know, this Indeedee keeps dodging things, but it's not the Pokemon that you really want to be like missing. If you're just like, if you could switch that would be great. But Hydreigon gonna have to get knocked down one special attack stage over here. But it does have specs, and it can have that helping hand, so could negate that some way. A Slitherwing we will see earlier this time. So like you said before, because of the way that terrain works, the Levitate will let it be hit by
but it can't hit Indeedee.
Nope.
Cannot hit Indeedee. Yeah, but Scissor kind of an interesting Pokemon in this format, in Series 2 specifically, because it is one of the few things that can knock out Flutter Mane before it gets to move with Bullet Punch. So I think it's something that's going to be a little more popular in this format than it was in Series 1, although it did cut San Diego on one team. Somebody cut with Scissor. So that's cool, but it's going to be a little bit more influential and definitely better, I think, in Series 2.
And Hydreigon gonna leave. Armarouge comes out into the field, so now everything's touching the ground here. As Indeedee goes for Protect, he's going to make sure it doesn't hit this turn. Arcanine going for the thing that's going to do best, that Snarl. We did not see that priority, so no first impression here. As Snarl is going to catch the Armarouge on the switch in, is going to knock it down by one special attack stage as well. I mean, honestly, you could just sit there all day and click that and be great. But that's fantastic, as Armarouge one more time just eats up that fire type move thanks to that flash fire. So gonna get that boost, gonna also negate that Snarl. So really nice switch in here from Luke.
Yeah, so the flash fire boost is nice, but it is kind of at the expense of having your special attack lowered, especially because you want to be clicking a psychic type attack here. But a Terra is going on to Arm. Oh, it's on Slitherwing. Oh, okay, what is it running?
It's fire.
Yeah,
it's fire.
Okay,
fire
that's
Slitherwing.
Interesting. Yeah, so bug fighting is like kind of a nasty dual typing, especially defensively, where you're weak to a lot of things.
What defense?
Yeah, I mean, like you're taking like super effective attacks from like half the world. So fire, of course, is really nice for blocking burns, and also it's like a pretty good defensive typing. And given that this is probably going to be an expanding force or a trick room, like I think I like the Terra there.
Wow, and so here another snarl from the Arcanine as Leech Life
Oh man, Slitherwing's
from
so cool.
Slithering is going to be draining that HP of the
Slitherwing.
Deity. I love the way it looks, but yeah, expanding force here, thanks to that terrain, is going to hit both Pokemon. Does some considerable damage on both of them. Armor's losing some HP from that Life Orb, but thanks to, you know, like that, I mean, Fire Slithering feels good to me just because it's nice to see a fire type on a Volcarona variant.
It feels
you know?
right. It feels right. Yeah, I agree
right
with you.
with the world now.
I agree with you, and I think that was actually like very little damage from Armarouge, considering we're in Psychic Terrain and it's holding a Life Orb. But Expanding Force, which is now Armarouge's signature move, very exciting. Really not doing all that much here, and Snarl Arcanine is really kind of the piece, the central pivot point of this whole matchup here, where there's not really a whole lot that Luke can do to it.
Armarouge is going to try to protect on this turn, is going to hide behind that as Dark Pulse from Hydreigon catches the other Hydreigon on the switch in. So Slithering is making sure it doesn't take any more extra damage as the Snarl now from that Arcanine. Again, this Arcanine is just going to snarl all day, is going to get that Hydreigon. Which honestly, fantastic choice, because now you know you're locked in the specs. At least if you're Luke, you didn't lock yourself into Dragon.
Yeah, I think it feels a little bit better to be locked into Dark Pulse, but something that does not feel very good is trying to switch into Snarl Arcanine when you're running a whole bunch of special attackers. So Armarouge and Indeedee and Hydreigon share a lot of like switch synergies, where you can kind of like catch a super effective attack aimed at one with one of the others, like we've seen with Flash Fire a couple times, or you know, something to that effect. But it does not feel good to be switching a lot of special attackers around on Snarl, because you're basically never going to be attacking at full power, which feels really bad.
Alright, and so we're going to see the Hydreigon on Luke's side actually go for that Steel Terra type this time around. I really enjoy the fact that you can use a bunch of Terra types to just sort of change the weaknesses for some of these Pokemon. A critical hit though from that Dark Pulse into that Arcanine is going to pick up the knockout here. I actually want to say that that crit matters in this case.
Pretty sure it does.
As Hydreigon from Tyler's side is going to hit Hydreigon on Luke's side, but thanks to that Terra typing, it's not going to do as much damage as it did before.
Yeah, Luke getting a little bit of help to kind of keep himself in this matchup, and he needed a little bit of help to make game one kind of close as well, where he was dodging some attacks. I don't remember if there was a critical hit or anything like that, but definitely an influential Dark Pulse, because as I was just saying, it was getting to the point where it was really hard to get Arcanine off the field, and I believe that was through Citrus Berry as well, so it's a loss of a lot of like effective health. But now Meowscarada is on the field and is threatening a lot of damage onto the opposing side, but as Slithering, I think First Impression is in play here, right?
Yes.
Because there's no Psychic Terrain.
Correct.
Yeah. So that could be interesting to see.
I think it's just interesting because now you have double fire types on Tyler's, like double Pokemon that can use fire type moves here against something like the Meowscarada and a Steel Hydreigon, right? So you're trading like one.
There it is.
Oh, there. You got to see it, the first impression here. And that Meowscarada was actually carrying a bend, so a little bit different from some of the focus ashes that we've been seeing. So it was a one-hit knockout here as Hydreigon goes for the Dark Pulse, is not able to pick up the knockout here on that Slitherwing, leaving Tyler's Hydreigon free for that focus energy. We know that we'll be getting critical hits now from things. Honestly, like that's just so scary where you're in a spot where your opponent is able to click that focus energy and not be punished for it.
Yeah, that's twice now, and honestly, I'm not really sure it was. I think I might have preferred just like a Dark Pulse onto Hydreigon or a Heat Wave, because I don't think the focus energy is actually like necessary to take the KOs that he needs to, but it's fine. We do know that this Hydreigon on Luke's side, I believe, has been moving first every time, so Slitherwing's not going to get to move, but this Hydreigon is going to get to hit with a Heat Wave, most likely, or a Dark Pulse into the opposing Hydreigon, or kind of whatever it really wants to do. And one of the things... wrong slot. No.
Oh, no. Yeah,
oh, no.
That's actually great then for Luke, because now you have a chance to turn around. Like you said, we've seen this Hydreigon on Luke's side move first multiple times. That's rough to see.
That's a missed target, I think. I think that definitely has to be into Hydreigon like 100 times out of 100, because you're dealing with the Armarouge fine the next turn. The only thing that it can do is set Trick Room, and then it like can't really touch you anyway, and maybe it doesn't matter, but it gave the opportunity for like a crit to potentially like, you know, get something going, but ultimately it's not gonna matter. Ultimately, it's not going to matter.
You just kind of sit there because, like, we know that
you need a
like
flinch. Oh, you know what it is? It opens up the flinch at games. There it is.
Are we going to see it? Oh, no.
No way.
Oh, my God, it did.
Okay. So he probably needs one more still. But yeah, this is kind of like why I think you need to be targeting down Hydra.
Oh my gosh, if that's another flinch, that's actually really rough. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Brendan, this is all Brendan's fault. Tyler, if you're watching this again, this is all Brendan's fault. He totally just jinxed it.
Well, that's,
to push us to a game 3.
I mean, but you could have you could have just avoided the whole end game by just targeting Hydreigon. Like that's the only out. That's the only out.
There is, I would like to point out that we are seeing the save here because that is one of those moments for the books. And I would like to point out my favorite saying is, well, there's a flinch, there's a way. It may not be the Rockside flinch, but Dark Pulse works just as well here.
Yep.
But you know, honestly, I think part of it too is that like some of the switches that Luke has been making were like really nice. It's just hard when like the speed is in a weird spot, right? Like your Hydreigon is faster, so you don't ever really want to click Trick Room because then you're like in the awkward spot. You don't really have like the wild thing to me is that looking at his team sheet, he has choice specs with Tailwind. Right, for his Hydreigon, which I think is such a wild sort of like move choice. Like you lock yourself into Tailwind, you have to switch yourself out. But honestly, like if you take care of that Arcanine, you open yourself up to a lot of better plays. Like that, like you had pointed out before, like the Arcanine is like the crux of this. Like Arcanine and Gastron on a team together again, like it's just very nostalgic.
That's a nice throwback. Yeah. But yeah, I think Arcanine is obviously kind of like the big piece of this. It's been really hard for Luke to break, and he's kind of been getting a lot of lucky breaks, I would say, to kind of like steal away game 2 there. He even got a couple in game 1, but it wasn't quite enough. But yeah, he's got a lot of work to do against this Arcanine, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think too at the end of it, right, like you pointed out, targeting that Hydreigon, probably like the better choice every time because like the matchup against Armor is great. Oh my gosh, we got the second Paradox Pokemon on here. It is that Iron Hands versus Arcanine versus Hydreigon and Indeedee. So the same lead from game 2 for Luke. A change for Tyler though, as now Iron Hands joins the field. This is that future Paradox version of Hariyama. Really. I just every time I look at the design for this, I'm just like, huh, this is.
It's. I think it's fine, but I think I like the bring actually. I think it's smart, especially because Scissor has been doing absolutely nothing the entire game, and it gives you the opportunity to just like take a Pokemon. We know by looking at our team sheet that it's an Assault Vest, so it's going to be able to take an attack, and then it's going to be able to retaliate.
Ooh,
there goes Arcanine. But if this is a close combat into Hydreigon, I think that's an okay trade.
The switch is fine, yeah.
I think it's an okay trade.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because, oh no, it's going to be Drain Punch. Oh, that Drain Punch so close to getting that knockout there. I will commend Luke though for realizing, hey, Arcanine was a pain in the butt. We're going to switch it out, but that Hydreigon is back here. And the important part is, if you're Luke and you were paying attention, you realize that your Hydreigon is faster. Like, it seems like it's been 100% of the time. Watch, they've been speed tying, and now we're just going to be like, well,
yeah,
that's unfortunate. Like,
well, I think
breaks.
I think the thing is there that's like a totally fine trade for Tyler to make if you get the knockout on Hydreigon, because then your own Hydreigon basically just kind of like sweeps through the rest of the Pokemon that have been coming. If it's Meowscarada or Goldengo or Armarouge, like we take those. Hydreigon is just fine with all of those Pokemon. But because you missed the KO, now you have to take a hit before you can knock it out, which is a little dicey. So this is going to be a strange mid-game, but I think right now it favors Luke.
Yeah, I think that was Luke's Hydra. Oh no, okay, that was Tyler's Hydra. Okay, I was going to say that would have been an interesting Terra there, but Indeedee becoming the center of attention here with Follow Me. That's Hydreigon from Luke's side is actually going to target down the Iron Hands. Does almost damage whatsoever. It's going to be at -4 now though, as Heat Wave from Tyler's Hydreigon. Oh, it's going to miss the Indeedee. This Indeedee's got
fine.
Great evasiveness.
Yeah.
Hydreigon going to be knocked out thanks to just that little bit of HP. If that had been the other way around, I would have honestly just felt terrible for Tyler at that point because you know it's just like horrible there. But Volt Switch actually going to land here as now that Iron Hands is able to be switched out for the last Pokemon that Tyler has in the back, which is actually going to be the other Paradox Pokemon on his team, which is going to be that Slitherwing. So you know, this Volcarona Berry is going to be brought in 3 for 3 now, as that further sense is going to activate with that booster energy. So that attack going to be raised just a little bit here, as now you've got that choice between Armarouge or Goldengo, and Goldengo actually...
I don't think that's the right choice.
Going to be an interesting switch in here for that Fallen Hydreigon, as that Air Balloon is going to make sure that I can actually get hit by priority moves because it's floating above the terrain now.
Yeah, I think that Armarouge was a fine switch there. I think getting Armarouge onto the field for free with no threat of being Snarl. The next turn you can follow me and go for like a full power Expanding Force and feel like pretty good about that play, I think, even if you trade Indeedee for like a lot of damage there. I think that's fine, but instead he's going to go into Goldengo. and then hard switch right back into Iron Hands.
Oh, and another switch now here from Luke as well. So actually, Golden Go going to be switched out for the Armored as we count down the
just gonna try and catch a heat wave, I guess.
Yeah, actually, and he does.
Okay.
So flash fire
That's
here
fine.
from Armored gonna be able to get boosted as Ndidi takes that like a champ. Side shock from Ndidi, though, gonna get the Iron Hands comes in here.
Jeez,
He's gonna do so much damage.
Okay.
Almost knocks out the Iron Hands, but not quite enough. But like you said, you know, you've got basically a full-powered expanding force if you really wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have just had it the last turn, and like the play looks fine in hindsight, where he just basically baited a heat wave and took the flash fire boost, and now he's gonna be able to use the flash fire armor. But no, follow me.
Okay, oh, but Armor still manages to hang on here as Indeed goes
those,
for
I
a
guess.
side shock. Is gonna pick up that easy knockout now on Iron Hands. We are both scratching our heads back
Does he
here.
just know that we take those?
Yeah, apparently, because you know, Armor Cannon now from Armor
I guess so.
because he was able to hang on.
That must be a spread that he had thought of, because otherwise I don't think
I don't know if you would.
the right play
yeah,
at
I would
all.
say I think you would just click follow me 90% of the time.
Follow
there.
me, expanding force. No.
That 3 HP though, kind of wild being able to hang on just that much here. As now Tyler loses his Steel Terra type Hydreigon is going to just be that Slither Wings in the back. As Armor is just gonna get knocked out thanks to its life or recoil damage, but that it actually leaves Golden Go free to just come in to play here. You've got a Golden Go who's got Steel Terra type as well. Air Balloon still in play. I mean, Slither Wings is here, and I think the only like real big problem now is you can knock out the Ndidi, I guess. So you don't really have a spread move here with Slither Wings either.
No, I think that this is probably Luke's game here, where he can just click Psyshock and make it rain. And he might be trading a knockout here, but the best thing that he has to hit Golden Go, as long as it doesn't Terra, which I think you never Terra here, the best thing he has to hit it is Flame Charge, which is probably going to take a couple of Flame Charges to be able to knock it out here, but he's going to go for the Shadow Ball. Is he Nasty Plot? I feel like maybe you just go for a Nasty Plot there instead, but Shadow Ball is going to do a decent amount of damage. But ultimately, this should be Goldengo's. Okay. That is a little risky. I don't think you need to do that either. And if the Slitherwing close combat's like, you just lose the game, I guess. But I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
We thought it was fine for a couple of different turns.
I think it's fine, but you know that there's been no Terra yet. You can potentially read a little bit into it. Okay, so I mean, if this is a Flame Charge, Goldengo wins the game, but you kind of opened up
big brain
like
play.
The only out, right, by going for Terra here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like at least that way, even if you're gonna take super effective damage from that, yeah. So there's a Flame Charge into the Goldengo does some very minimal damage here. As yeah, sure, the speed rising, but you were already faster than that. Make it rain here.
My air balloon.
They pop your air balloon, they ground you, but you're gonna make it rain anyway here, as that boosted from that steel is going to go into that Slitherwing. That was a lot of interesting choices being made there for that.
Yeah, fun set.
I will say the end of that game too was probably kind of wild.
Kind of stole that away.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like. But hey, you know what? If your opponent chose not to hit that Hydreigon on that last turn, you take those and you go, wait, we already locked ourselves into Dark Pulse, might as well. And again, when there's a flinch, there's a way. And honestly, it's kind of rough sometimes to watch it just be like, well, I mean, especially because
you hate to see it.
That Armor was just hanging on to at the end. Which
well,
is like,
I mean that you can like maybe attribute to like a specific EV spread where he might have EV'd it such that, or maybe he just knows his calcs